For joining today. My name is Becky Lewis. I'm the president of the Paralegal Association. First, we'll go over some announcements. We have a lot going on in PACO right now. Hi Pam.
Hey.
We have tickets are on sale for Paralegal Day, early bird registration. So if your firm wants to sponsor, we have some early bird rates as well as ticket sales going on right now. There's an NFPA joint convention this weekend, starts Friday. And if you're interested in any of those sessions, you can attend one session or all of them. So check that out in the PACO News. And lots of programming for the next few months. Capital University is also the law school is having a compliance forum on Friday. It is free if you would like to attend that as well. And a lot of other things coming up. So keep your eye out, check the PACO News often, register for anything you want to attend in the near future. Any PACO leaders on the call today have announcements or anything you'd like to add? No? Okay. We guys get a double dose of me today because I'm the one presenting. So let me share my screen. I have presented on this topic before, but it's been a while. So let's see. I think it's this screen. Yes. Can you guys see that?
Not yet. There you go.
Is it a big screen or a little screen?
Yeah, little big.
Okay, cool. I got the right one. All right. So our topic today is a structured approach to building your professional network and what it all means. So this is going to be interactive. I appreciate people coming off of chat or off of mute to chat, or I have the chat box open as well. So I'll try to keep an eye on that. So please interject with your thoughts or comments, experiences you've been through. And I will be sending you away with some things to add to your to-do list that I'm sure we all have a ongoing long list of things to do, including myself for some of these items. So we're going to kick it off. This is the agenda for today. We have a lot of topics we're going to hit on. What is it? What is professional networking? What are the different types? Networking skills and benefits. Some best practices when you're out there talking to other professionals, personal brand, and what does that mean? Where do you begin in all of this with a structured approach? Having your own board of directors, and you might have heard that topic talked about before in other sessions. Professional networking toolkit and strategy and action plan for when you leave the session today and other things that you might want to consider doing. So first we'll start off with getting to know me. A lot of you know me personally, but there might be some things on here that you were not aware of. The first job I ever had was in high school working for lawyers. It was at the firm of Steinberg and Hasbrook, and no longer exists today, of course. And that's the Spitzer building in Toledo. If you're familiar with Toledo at all, I think it's still there. I don't think they've knocked it down. It's a pretty old building, but I've worked at other law firms too, all in legal secretarial types of roles. At Eastman and Smith, I did do my paralegal internship there. I worked at the University of Toledo in the legal studies program, which was the paralegal program at the time. For the director, I was her assistant. And I spent 10 years in the United States Bankruptcy Court, Northern District of Ohio, Western Division. And I also then landed at Nationwide in the year 2000 to today. And during that time, I did teach part-time at Columbus State as an adjunct, part-time adjunct. Really enjoyed working with the students there. I've done a lot of volunteer work over the years. Of course, I've been a member of PACO since 2004. You can see the CASA name shows up a lot in my volunteer work. I was a CASA, which is a court-appointed special advocate in Lucas County, Wood County, and Franklin County. And Nationwide actually has a pro bono program as well. And I participated in the mediator training and program at the Franklin County Small Claims Court for 10 years. Other than our wills clinics that I thoroughly enjoy through PACO, being a mediator probably was the runner-up for something I really truly enjoyed. And all of us are members of PACO, so we are also members of the NFPA. We might be members of the Columbus Bar Association, and maybe so. I think a lot of us on the call today are also members of the Ohio State Bar Association Paralegal Committee. So there's lots of ways you can network in amongst all of these and things you have at your fingertips that you might have not have even considered in the past. So we're going to talk about some of those things. So what is professional networking? And really, it's when you're being deliberate and creating and maintaining relationships with others to further your career or your personal brand. And what does it look like in reality? So maybe you attend today's session. You see someone online that you would like to get to know, or you're in person at a legal seminar and you exchange business cards. And it's all about the conversation. It's all about communication, right? And you make that connection with someone, and then stay in touch with them. Is it someone in town that you can say, hey, let's grab lunch or dinner or a drink after work? Or if they're out of town, virtual touch bases, and getting to know them. Chat, I want to learn more about you. Could we connect and chat? And when I approach someone like that, and they agree to it, of course, I don't know if anyone that actually says, no, I don't want to do that. Immediately follow through, schedule that touch base or phone call with them. I tend to kind of go to quarterly type of meetings, unless it's something a little bit more formal, like a mentor-mentee relationship, where you might want to meet monthly or more, depending on what the situation is. Networking itself is the action of interacting with others to exchange information and develop those contacts. And what does that look like? I'm sure that a lot of you, or maybe everyone, has ran into work people or people you've seen in a professional setting in the grocery store, at Walmart, Target. I know I have. Just ran into someone the other day in Walmart that my husband knows, and he was thoroughly embarrassed because he hadn't shaved. So somebody from work, of course. So there's all kinds of contact that you would have with folks that you run into. How many times have you ran into someone and don't remember their names? Anyone?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there is a polite way to do that. Pam, I see you're hanging up. You know, so I, I'm the type of person to immediately say, just apologize. I'm so sorry. I don't recall your name. What was your name? People like to hear their names, so that tends to be how I address it. My husband gets really embarrassed, and he couldn't remember this lady's name the other day. I'm like, well, she looks familiar, but why didn't you just ask her? Probably because he knew her for like 30 years, and he was embarrassed that he forgot her name. Has anyone had any professional types of networking situations that were awkward or didn't quite go as you thought? Anyone want to share a situation? Pam, you're right. They were out of uniform, so you didn't recognize them. Yeah, that happens to me a lot. I had a situation years ago, and I'm going back over 10 years, and it was a mentor-mentee situation through PACO with a student, paralegal student who had graduated from one of our local programs, wanted to meet and discuss careers, jobs, etc. And it got pretty awkward because she was of the mindset that employers would just be knocking down her door as a student right out of school, and she didn't have any legal background. So I was giving her a little bit of taste of reality, and the conversation just went completely sideways. And I never heard from her again after that, but it was uncomfortable and awkward. How about anybody else? Any other situations out there you can think of? None? Okay. Oh, wait. Angie, my challenge tends to be when I know someone for many years and I can't recall their current, if they're married. Oh, yes, that's a good one. If they got married, you can't recall their last name.
You know, most recently I was talking to a PACO member and about Brittany, our assistant vice president, and all I could think of was Brittany Hayes. And then it was Britney Spears and Brittany this and Brittany that. And I could not remember Brittany's current last name for any, and she's been married for, gosh, a long time now.
A few
And I
years,
could
yes.
not come up with it.
Yes, and that can be a common thing, right? I mean, we're all human, and yeah, it can. We probably all have been in that situation at one time or another, and I don't have any advice for that because it just happens. We're human, right? So a question for the group, and you could put an answer in chat, but when is the best time to start professional networking? Any clue on this one? Anytime, immediately? Yes. Before you need one, right? Before you actually need that professional network. So if any of you, yes, as soon as you are able, yes, Randy. If this were a group of students, a lot of them would probably say, well, once I graduate, when really they're already networking right in the classroom. Right next to them. They're getting to know people, they're talking to them. All those folks are going to end up in the field and be their contacts and go-to someday as well. So yes, do not delay. Start as early as possible. This today, even though we're on camera, or you're not on camera, this is a way to network and reach out to people after this session and say, hey, I want to get to know you a little bit better. Can we connect? This is types of different kinds of professional networking. And I'll start at the top of the slide. So professional organizations, absolutely. You're all here today. You're all a part of PACO. As a part of PACO, you're a member of the NFPA. So you've got Central Ohio area contacts, you've got national contacts. If you're a member of the OSBA, you have state contacts. You can jump into that paralegal committee and reach out on the, I don't remember what they call it, but it's the community email that you can reach out to people across the state instantly. So there's things at your fingertips you may not utilize because you haven't thought about it maybe in that way. I'm reading Angie's comment as a student, even relationships, yes, with instructors and professional leads to professional references. Absolutely. Another method or another type of networking, social media, of course. Mindy did a presentation a while ago on LinkedIn, a fabulous presentation. LinkedIn has LinkedIn learnings about LinkedIn, believe it or not. You can go out there, you can get free backgrounds and all kinds of things in LinkedIn when you Google it and just start learning more about LinkedIn and get involved. Reach out to people, connect, post things. I'm starting to do that more ever since Mindy presented on that because I did feel it was important. Facebook, they have paralegal groups too you can be a member of. Just joining those groups and seeing the conversations that go back and forth. And there's a ton of other social media that I'm sure folks are on, Instagram, and I was going to say Snapchat, but I'm not really sure if that still exists or what the situations are with all of those. But LinkedIn is probably the go-to for professionals, and linking to those second and third contacts above just in your circle. Happy hours and mixers, those are kind of a gimme in my world. Those are easy, right? Go enjoy yourself, have those conversations with people and getting to know people. I added mentoring circles because recently I attended a mentoring circle, and I also attended a virtual networking event, which I had not done in the past. And both of them were fantastic. They were through my employer at Nationwide. The mentoring group was all about, they had a topic. It was in celebration of the Women's History Month in March, and it was about empowerment. So what they did, over 100 plus people were there. They broke everyone into little rooms, and they actually moved groups from leader to leader and had different conversations every 15 minutes. That was really cool. Another thing I attended was a virtual networking event. It was about 12 to 15 people. They went around the room. It was all virtual. Everyone introduced themselves. The moderator picked out themes and topics, and it was people with all kinds of different backgrounds, all kinds of different, from brand new to being with the company for longer than 20, 30 years. And a lot of us had like the same thoughts on things. So that was really interesting. Let's see what else. Legal conferences, webinars, CLEs, roundtables. I'm sure we all attend these things. Volunteering, PACO. We've got the Wills Clinic. Teresa's always looking for people to assist in the Wills clinics. I mentioned the court-appointed special advocates. They're at the local level in every county in Ohio. There's an Ohio CASA program at the state level and the national level. So getting involved would, the contacts you could make are just phenomenal, really, when you stop and think about it. Mediators in the courts, contact a court, find out how you can become a mediator. Catch Court is another one that's always looking for volunteers. We also had a speaker from Freedom a la carte, and she mentioned mentors in their program, needing mentors and volunteer opportunities with them too. So volunteering is a great way to get to know people, network, and build those connections. And then, of course, virtual connections, coffee chats, touch bases, and informational interviews. If you've never done an informational interview, it can be interesting. Those are kind of pointed, if you're going to call it that. You can kind of have the agenda. We'll look at that here in a little bit. I have a draft agenda, and I will be circulating this PowerPoint so that you have it at your fingertips. But an informational interview, usually you're looking for topics, specific topics that you want to learn more about. The other coffee chats and touch bases, people put those on my calendar all the time. Typically 15 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe an hour, depending on what if I know the person, and we kick off a conversation and we really connect. All of these on this slide involve building rapport, developing that relationship. I remember a student one time said to me, I met so-and-so, it was at a BWE event, biennial workshop and exhibition. She met someone there, one of the speakers had approached that person about a job later, didn't get the job, which she was shocked about because she felt like she knew that person. And I did have to explain to her tactfully that that's not really building a relationship with that person. Like, you need to continue. Oh, Angie, you have your hand up.
Oh, I was just going to say that something that I have started being really intentional about is if I go to a meeting or a presentation, and especially if there's a new group that I'm going to be emailing on a regular basis, as soon as I'm done, I always go to LinkedIn and add them as a contact.
Yes. Excellent. I've done that on the spot. In fact, I did it at the NFPA convention in Cleveland because somebody asked me for a business card and I didn't have any, because we really don't have them anymore at Nationwide. I said, how about we connect on LinkedIn right now? And we both got out our phones and we both connected immediately and started messaging each other that day. But yes, absolutely. I think that's a great idea. But yes, building rapport, developing that relationship, exchanging backgrounds and experience. There might be questions you want to ask when you are meeting with that person. You know, was a typical day look like for you at work? You know, I don't even know if I've ever asked Angie or Teresa that. And I know you guys and work with you guys all the time on PAYCO things, right? You could probably pull out what kind of skills they use, but you could certainly ask, you know, what kind of skills do you use when you do that particular task, right? I ask this a lot to especially leaders. What is their professional journey path looked like? How did they get to where they're at? And what are some of those lessons learned that if they could turn back the clock 10, 20 years and advice they would give, like to move, you know, they could go back and then move forward into that. If you're thinking about education and furthering your education, you might want to ask how their education impacted their career, or did it impact their career? What about next steps in their career? Because you might be considering, you know, ABC. What does that look like in their world? What about work-life balance? Through the pandemic, we've all learned that work-life balance is extremely important to a lot of us, including just the commute to work, to the physical location, right? When you can work from home, you eliminate that immediately. And here's another one I thought was interesting: personal sacrifices. If you work in a litigation firm and your attorneys are going to trial a lot, I already know what you do. You probably work a lot on the weekends, or you work late. Those are questions you will want to know if you're interested in a firm or a company. What does that look like? There was in my old job, I worked weekends. I worked late, 8, 10, 11 o'clock at night, sometimes answering emails. So what does that look like? Because is that really a direction you want to go? Company culture might matter to you, asking, you know, what's the management style in the firm? You know, is there an administrator, a person over the paralegals who look out and have your best interest? So all of these things are things you might want to keep in mind when you're talking to people. Pam says, I learned that Teresa and I are Centerburg neighbors during the pandemic. See, might not have even known that before. Here's some professional networking tools. Proactive listening, being fully present, really important when you're having a conversation with someone. Eye contact, really good eye contact. Nonverbal cues are important. I took an entire semester at the University of Toledo about nonverbal communication, and it is really important. So if you're looking way over here, paying attention, and someone's talking over here, are they really paying attention to you? You know, or do you value that conversation? Open-ended questions, of course, you know, tell me about your career path, leaving it open to go any direction and have a meaningful conversation. And of course, withholding judgment, because you're really there just learning and meeting someone and developing that relationship. Foster empathy, being compassionate. You might walk up to someone and be like, it's so great to see you. Introduce yourself. How's your day going? And you might be at Paralegal Day, which is a huge celebration. And they're like, oh, I just had the worst day of my life. You know, they might have had someone pass away, very meaningful in their life, and you don't know that background. So we all on the outside, you know, put up our front and our professional face, but behind it, we have things going on, right? Everyone has stuff happening in their worlds. So having that empathy and really understanding where they're coming from. Staying positive, being positive, and having that sunny disposition isn't always easy, is it? You're buried at work. The boss is in your office every other minute. They want something done. So staying positive when you're dealing directly with someone trying to develop that relationship. Communication, verbally and non-verbally. You know, if you wonder if you're being intentional about communicating, sometimes, I don't know, with people closest around you, communication can fail very easily. You know, give me a starting point of what we're talking about. You know, you can ask those folks, you know, am I do you understand where I'm coming from? You know, in working on communication, verbally and non-verbally, the words, your facial expressions, your body language, everything matters. Preparing a short line about yourself is your elevator speech, really. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more here in a minute. And follow up. If you say you're going to do something for someone, be accountable, follow up. They will remember that. And make professional networking a part of your life. It's not always easy. I'd say 20 years ago, I was not the networking type. I prefer to think about it as making connections with people versus like, I'm going to go out and network tonight, right? But the old me used to set goals for myself. It was so hard and difficult. I said, tonight my goal is to meet one new person. That's it. One new person, and I accomplished my goal. The next time it was 2 new people. Tonight I'm going to meet 2 new people. So taking baby steps, and before you know it, you keep doing those things, you're going to know everybody. And when the new person walks in, you're not going to be feeling awkward, and you already know what they feel like. So really breaking it down and making it simple. Yeah, one person, that's all I'm going to meet tonight. And remembering names. You know, if you have to jot it down, if you have to put it on an Excel spreadsheet, I have a journal that I throw in my purse for things like that, where you can journal like immediately who you met afterwards. Maybe when you get in your car, you don't want to forget something, jot it down. And practice. Just practice. It could be in the elevator, it could be in Walmart when you can't remember the person's name. Like, how am I going to handle this, right? Am I just going to be, hey, I apologize, but could you tell me your name again? As simple as that. And there's lots of benefits. These are just some of them to building your network. I mean, when I moved here in 2002, I didn't know anybody in Columbus, didn't know anyone. And you know, all the things I'm talking about at your fingertips are also at my fingertips. And I've chosen to be active and involved and know lots of people, and don't hesitate to approach people. And you can be the same way. But it strengthens your professional connections. Grow your personal brand. You're going to run into job opportunities. I've talked to people who are like, I've thought about you for this job recently. Oh yeah, well, share it with me. You'll get great advice and support from different folks in any situation. It could be personal, it could be professional. It will definitely build your confidence over time. You can gain different perspectives, get answers to questions you may not know the answers to, right? Could turn into texting when you're on vacation and you need help. That happened one time. I don't see Mindy on the call today. Mindy texted me from a beach. Can you get me contacts for a Cleveland? I forget what it was. Somewhere in Cleveland. I jumped on Google immediately and got her what she needed. But it does develop long-lasting relationships, and that's really what this is all about, right? Developing those contacts and developing those meaningful relationships. Staying up on industry trends. Of course, if there's a vendor around, if Steve Hager's around, he's a wealth of information. Anderson's reporting, you know, doing our calls, wealth of information of what's going on in the industry. And you can just say, hey, what's coming up in your world? Tell me about it. And again, open-ended, and they'll share everything they know that's going on in their worlds. And definitely you could meet people that you would want to mentor you down the line. Some best practices. Define your goals. Angie said she's being intentional. She's reaching out through LinkedIn. I do that as well. I do that with our speakers that we have in PACO. So you can do the same thing and start to develop those relationships. Share your goals and your opportunities, or looking for opportunities. You can make new friends. What is your purpose to go to a happy hour? It's probably to have fun and just mingle, right? But if you're going and you don't know anybody, it might be to mingle and talk to one vendor and meet one new person in PACO, right? If it's a PACO event. If it's a work event, more than likely you know most of the people, but there's still probably in some big firms, you don't know some people. Or building your industry knowledge, of course. So this takes a little work to define yourself and what it is you really want to get out of this. And hey, having fun is a reason, right? If you want to have fun, that's fine. That's your goal.
Becky, can I interject there?
Sure.
As far as working relationships at work, mine is a little bit unique. My firm is based out of Toledo, and we of course have a Columbus office, but there's a lot of collaboration and a lot of opportunities to work with the people in Toledo. But they may have seen your name in an email or on a list or in a conversation, but there is a huge difference between somebody seeing your name on a list and having a vague recollection of, oh yeah, they're in Columbus, and actually meeting them in person and putting a face and a personal conversation with that name. It's a world of difference.
It is. And really important too, right? Teresa, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to augment timing with that. So if you connect with somebody at an event and they send you a note in LinkedIn that says, hey, it was great to meet you, or they send you an email and say, hey, we talked about maybe getting together for lunch one day, don't blow them off. Reply to the email, reply to the note in LinkedIn. If you ignore that, then the person who reached out is going to think, oh, well, I guess they really aren't that interested. It's not a way to build relationships at all.
Right. And if you're busy, just say, hey, can we push this out a month or two? That's understandable. So everyone understands that. Some of these other items we've talked about, the 3 R's: research, reciprocate, and relationship building. Researching, my go-to in the professional world is LinkedIn. I research. If I'm going to an event, if I know the names of the speakers, I will go out and look them up. I might even link to them before I actually see them speak. And what they're all about. What is the event about? Who are the people I might run into? I did that for the NFPA, and I actually it helped because I walked in and I recognized people. Not people from Columbus, people from the NFPA and around the state and other places. So, and that was reassuring to me. One, I was in the right place. I wasn't lost. And two, I recognized people. I could actually call them by name. So there's all kinds of things you can do on the back end. And reciprocate. Yes, if somebody does you a favor and connects you with someone, and they ask for something in return, absolutely do something for them. And relationship building, we've talked a lot about that. People genuinely want to help other people. So staying connected, keeping your word, and being accountable is huge. I mean, think about that on a personal level, right? If you're a friend, a neighbor says they're going to do something, they never show up, they never let you know. If you're running late, I'm one of those, I'm fanatic about that. I'm sorry, I'm running 5-10 minutes late. Try to text the person or whatever the situation is. But being accountable is huge. Some further best practices. Be prepared to know what kind of advice you're looking for, maybe what kind of information you're trying to get to, or if you're trying to get to referrals. Know exactly what your goals are and be prepared. Do your research, define your own goals, compile your list of questions, show up early or on time. If you're running late, even for a virtual meeting, let that person know. It's all about professional courtesy, right? And knowing that their time is just as valuable as your time. So people really appreciate that. This is the informational meeting agenda I was talking about. So you can use this anywhere, whether it's a coffee chat, a virtual networking with someone, an in-person lunch or conversation. But again, building that rapport, sharing your appreciation for them and briefly introducing yourself if you hadn't gotten that far in the conversation yet. Take notes. If you're uncomfortable taking notes in front of someone, I would just say, hey, do you care if I jot down some things? I don't want to forget. No one's going to say no. Nope, don't want you to do that. Absolutely. They would not. That means a lot that someone's going to write down things that you're saying, right? Again, ask for that advice, information, and referrals, whatever it is that is the topic of your conversation that day. And discuss what next steps, hey, I really appreciate you coming out to lunch today. I'd really like to continue our conversation. Would you care if I put quarterly meetings on our calendar, just as a touch base conversation? I'd say in the last month, I have had at least a handful of people reach out to me that I haven't seen or talked to a whole lot during the pandemic. It's been pretty cool. Whether it's for lunches or they put coffee chats on my calendar. But yeah, that's really nice when somebody reaches out. So don't hesitate. And send a thank you note when someone spends time with you, and sharing advice and things of that that you're asking them. So this is a little exercise we're going to work on today, and I'm going to explain it to you first. But the first step of where you begin is your own personal network. A is the outer circle. It's like the world. These are people you already know. Okay. And the goal from the people you already know is to get to be the people that can bridge you over to see the people that are decision makers. So I want you to take 30 seconds and write down names of people that you go to, friends, family, colleagues, for advice, references, people that would vouch for you. So take 30 seconds and do that really quick. Ten more seconds. Okay, time's up. Everyone should have, hopefully you have 3 to 5 names on your list. So this is your personal network already of where you're going to begin. Okay. Now remember, so these are the people that you reach out to for advice, that you holding the top confidence in your worlds. They would provide you with references, testimonies about your work and who you are as a person. And you want to bridge that over to contacts, people that can bridge you over to the people that are probably leading you to hiring managers. So that's how that works. That's that domino effect. All right, so we're going to take a look at personal brand really quick. What is personal brand? Everyone has a reputation. First impressions you make, the relationships you form with colleagues, peers or managers, and how you commute, all of these impact how people see you. Your personal brand, on the other hand, is much more intentional. It is how you want people to see you. Your personal brand is about your visibility and the values you represent. So an exercise, and this is something you can do, we're not going to do now, but I've actually done this exercise and it was really interesting, is to ask 5 people to describe you. When they think of you, what 3 words come to mind? And jot down all of the words that they send back and then compare it to see what kind of themes come up continuously. You know, and it could be themes like leadership, what else? You're a motivator, you're reliable. It could be any of those things, right? But try to pick 5 different people from different places in your world to see exactly. And it was interesting because I did it with work people and non-work people, some PAYCO folks. And it was really interesting to see what comes back. That's your personal brand. That's what people think about you. That what you're projecting into the professional world or the world. Something else to work on. So see, I'm giving you all kinds of to-dos. Is you need your own personal board of directors. And who are those folks? These are the 5 folks. So a mentor, someone who helps to mold you to be the better you. Introduces you to new ways of thinking, or maybe challenges some assumptions that you might have. They share valuable life lessons. Ask them to go to lunch. I've had somebody flat out ask me if I would mentor them. So it wasn't through like a program where you sign up, but just flat out ask. And you can do that. And what I tell my associates at work is, you know, you start those conversations like what we've talked about today. You start to develop that connection. If you feel that connection is a two-way street, then you can ask, hey, would you mind being my mentor? Just there's things I would like to run by you at different times. And we could meet quarterly or just, you know, on the fly if something's going on. And it really turns into a friendship down the road. A sponsor. This is someone who can speak to your strengths and abilities when you're not there. This is a really important person to have. When you're not in the room, they're typically decision makers. And they're like, yes, I know that person. They'd be fantastic. So they're already your cheerleader when you're not even around. Very important person to have. You will want a connector. It's somebody that knows how to pick up the phone. They know everybody, or they know somebody that can connect you to the next person or whatever it is you're looking for. These people use their networks of relationships to bring those connections and get you to the right people. So identify someone that knows people and knows how to get it done. So that's your connector. A point expert is considered your personal search engine. They know a lot of different things and they're willing to share that information with you. They're knowledgeable, they're skilled, and they have real world experience, and they back up their information. So a point expert, very important to have. And then of course a close friend, because a lot of what you go through, ups and downs with work or frustrations or whatever the situation may be, you will need that close friend who does not judge you, who you can vent to, who understands the situation, who will celebrate your wins, and they're there for you during the tough times too. Your toolkit. Your 30-second commercial, your networking brief that we're going to talk about. It's a little bit deeper than 30-second commercial, and your social networking profile. Those are 3 tools in your toolbox. So an elevator speech, it's brief, it's 30 seconds or less. I'm sure we've all had the opportunity and have run into situations where you're doing this with maybe not much thought in mind, right? who are you and why should I care? The person on the other end is thinking. So your name, of course, they might want to know where you work, what you do. And I made all of this up, by the way, that's in blue. What do you do at work? Why should it be important to this person? And something perhaps catchy is the point of an elevator speech. The networking brief is a one-page document you're going to think about. You're going to have 3 main sections. Who am I? What do I do? And how do I add value? It might be a little deeper. Maybe you use during an interview or a longer conversation to really go in a step further from your 30-second commercial. A strategy plan, really thinking through how are you going to proceed? What is it you want to try to accomplish? Determine those goals. Are they short-term? Are they long-term? Know who you are. What are your strengths? What is your skill set? What kind of values do you have and what motivates you? And sometimes you need a deeper dive. Maybe you need to do strength finders, jump online, really learn about your strengths. Those are innate. Those are things that you were born with and you've created and you really enjoy. What are your 5 top strengths from Strength Finders? Those are things you can do for yourself, right? Really knowing yourself. You can determine areas that you need to develop. So if you questioned yourself, what do I need to really do? Where do I begin? You have a lot of things. We are all PAYCO members. We've talked about today. Lots of things at your fingertips. You have the entire country of contacts at your fingertips. Join other organizations and be active. Don't just show up to show up. Be active. And what do I mean by stretch assignments? So maybe, one of the things PAYCO does a lot is event planning. And I just had this conversation with someone that I mentioned earlier that I reached out to after a virtual networking. And she said there was a lot of event planning in this position that I would have never thought of, never thought would be pertinent to have on my resume or even begin a discussion. There's a lot that goes into event planning. One is just a basic understanding. So these are like things you could do that can be considered a stretch assignment because it's outside the norm of what you probably do every day, right? So what goes on in an event? You have to be organized. You might have to read and negotiate a contract with the venue, right? You're going to probably fundraise and get sponsors for the event. You're going to have scheduling of meetings. You're going to be talking to speakers, locating people, keeping everyone on track, which can be a challenge. Problem solving, huge problem solving skills going on. Multitasking on the day of the events. I can tell you there's a lot of multitasking. You're pulled in many different directions. Leadership, creativity. So these are things just from volunteering to do one thing, skills that you may not have thought of that you could actually hone in on by getting involved, making friends, and developing other skills as you go. And the last one, of course, is what advice are you looking for? What information are you looking for and what kind of referrals are you looking for? So keeping all those things in mind and turning that into an action plan. Develop your ABC. So these are an action plan, more to-dos. Develop your ABC contacts. Develop your networking tools. Put some time in on you're not going to carry it around, right? You're just going to organize your thoughts for when you do run into those folks. But sometimes putting it on paper first, or whatever you do. I use OneNote. I'm a OneNote freak. Everything's in OneNote. Maybe just typing it out, saying it out loud over and over helps you be comfortable so that when the time comes, it's natural. Same with your networking brief. Update your LinkedIn accounts or any social media accounts. Ask for information, informational interviews, ask for coffee chats, virtual touch bases in person, lunch. Angie, you're going to Toledo, schedule lunch with someone. Hey, I want to get to know you. Let's go to lunch. What else? The advice, information, referrals. I said that a lot today. AIR, having those lined up, whether you have it in your notes, so it's fresh in your mind. And don't ask for a job, and don't be a resume pusher. I don't think a lot of people do this today anymore. It used to be very prevalent about 10 or 15 years ago. But the whole point of meeting someone and making those connections isn't for that purpose. Create your action plan, 30, 60, 90 days and beyond. Then make the plans, like schedule things, get them on your calendar. If you get it on your calendar way out in advance, you'll have time to work towards it. So sometimes it's just getting it on your calendar, really turning it into a to-do. Create your board of directors. And then practice the 3 R's, the research, the reciprocating, and the relationship building. And we've talked a lot about those 3 things today. And then practice your professional networking skills. And really, those can happen anywhere, and, you know, anytime, anywhere. You're not in dress clothes, you're just running out in your sweats to the store. It could happen then too, right? So just practice, practice, practice. And the more you practice, the better and easier it will come to you. And that's it today, folks. So any questions? I'm going to share my email address. It's really easy to find me. I feel like I'm in LinkedIn, my PAYCO bio, I've got the link there as well. So I'm always happy to talk to people, spend time answering questions wherever I can fit you in. So any questions, thoughts? No final thoughts, no questions today? Well, reach out to me. I'll put my email address in chat, so feel free to reach out anytime. Thank you, Susan, for your comments, and always happy to help other professionals. So everyone have a great day. Thanks for attending.
Nicely done. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.